Hello everybody and welcome back to the Leeds Lens. Apologies we couldn't do this live, but we have got a show out at 8 PM for you. And we are going to be previewing the Leeds versus Spurs game, the first of the big six to visit Elland Road. It's 12:30 on Saturday, and I tell you what people, I'm sensing an upset. I am sensing an upset. So let's get on with the review, or the preview. Yeah. So this is how I expect Spurs to line up then, with me finally sat in the bottom left-hand corner. I expect them to go with Farke in goal, Porro at right back, then you've got Romero, Van der Ven. Romero, I think, was rested midweek against Bodo Glimt. Udogie at left back. And then this in the midfield, it's a similar sort of setup to Leeds United. And it's a similar formation to Leeds United in truth. But they've got Paulinho as that single pivot. Then they've got Bentancur playing the 8 role. And then they've got Bergwijn as more that recognised 10. And this is where it's slightly different to Leeds United. Because Leeds United more play with 2 number 8s in Longstaff or in Stack. Whereas actually Spurs do play with a recognised 10 sort of in Bergwijn. And you will see that when he locks onto Ampadu in Spurs' press. And then up front, you've got Kudus on the right-hand side, Richarlison up front with Solanke and of course, Koulibaly injured at this moment in time. And then you've got Xavi Simons on the left. I actually think, to be honest, they're not an absolute team full of individual quality everywhere. People might disagree with this, but I don't think they're a team littered with quality. It's more of the unit that Thomas Frank has created. And one thing I do like about Frank, and we talked about this in the sort of introduction, is that he is adaptable game by game. He's not a manager who's plan A or plan A right. He's a manager that he's happy to go to plan B, plan C, plan E, plan F, whatever plan you want to get to. And that is the way that Thomas Frank is. You're also going to see him naturally use the set pieces all the time, the likes of long throw-ins. Every single thing you can get out of Thomas Frank, he will do. But where are Spurs in terms of the numbers at this moment in time? Well, they are the 4th top scorers in the league this year, which is quite a highlight for the attack. Although I would say with that, I think they were still like bottom half for goals created or XG created. So I don't think that's something that you're going to see long term Spurs. I don't think they're a team blessed with individual quality, like I said, and blessed with goals in this team. And I do think as well, when we talk about Spurs at this moment in time, their main thing is the defence. Like, they've only conceded 4 goals all season. And you look at that back 4, it's been so solid. 3 clean sheets already this season as well. And they also are a team that like to dominate possession. They're 3rd in the league for possession as well. But where do I see the key battles in this game for Spurs? And where will Spurs try to sort of overload Leeds United and create opportunities themselves? Well, I think the best way that Spurs play for me, and it has been for a few years now, it was similar under Ange, but they use them in a different way, is the fullbacks. I always think Spurs' fullbacks are really, really strong, which is why it's so important, I think, against Spurs, that Brendan Aaronson has a really good game on the right-hand side, and Okafor, who has a really good game on the left-hand side, because what you see a lot of times with Spurs, especially with the sort of wingers that they play, Xavi Simons will naturally come inside, dragging Bogle inside, and then it leaves this space for Udogie on the overlap. So it's very important that when he goes forward, Udogie, that Aaronson tracks him all the way, which we know is something that's good at. And then when he gets one-on-one with Aaronson potentially in this position, that Aaronson doesn't lose this battle and let Udogie get to the byline, like we saw with Udogie against Brighton, where he had a fantastic game. And I also say that on the right-hand side as well, with Porro, because Porro naturally offers the same sort of threat for Leeds United as Goodmanson gets dragged inside to Kudus, and then you see the overlap of Porro. So it's important that Okafor comes back on, and then hopefully when Harrison comes on at some point as well, he'll have to do the same job on Pedro Porro, because them fullbacks are massively important. Obviously, the difference between that and the Ange Postecoglou system was that actually Simons would go on the outside, and you'd see Udogie go into the space in the middle. But it's very different especially with the personnel that now Thomas Frank plays. So yeah, that is the way that Spurs are going to line up, in a few sort of ways that I think they can get at Leeds United. Of course, naturally, they've got a really good press as well. I think Paulinho is a real sort of a real strength of theirs. So dominant in defence, and also can pop up with a goal like we saw against Wolves as well. I think Bergwijn is a very busy player, and Bentancur's more the technically gifted one in the midfield. And I think a lot of times as well, where the way they build attacks is Romero stepping into midfield and then playing passes into likes of Bentancur, etc. as well. So that is a key strength for Spurs, and something that Leeds United definitely need to look out for. But of course, if this formation isn't working in the game, like we've talked about, Thomas Frank will be happy to move it on and go to a different style to overcome Leeds United. But talk about Leeds United, let's move on to Leeds United now, shall we? So let's go back to this screen. I do think this will be the team that Daniel Farke picks. I think he will go and change it again. I think Dalot will start in goal. I think it'll obviously be Bogle, Rodon, Strauch, Goodmanson and Purdue at the base of the pivot. And then you've got Longstaff and Stack. I don't see Tanaka coming in for this one. Also think you'll pick Brendan Aaronson on the right-hand side. I think you'll Calvert-Lewin up front and Okafor on the left. I'm sure none of you are disagreeing with all this so far. The only change I think he'd make at this moment in time, and let's switch back to the team graphic, or the change that I would make, should I say, is I would put Jack Harrison into this game. I honestly would. This sounds utterly mad, and you might think, Scott, what are you on about? Jack Harrison's perfect for this game. And the reason why I say that is because I think genuinely Jack Harrison's just a better right winger than Brendan Aaronson. There's a few reasons for this, in my opinion. First of all, I am sick to death of Leeds United picking wingers on how good they are defensively. And also, I don't actually think, I know Brendan Aaronson runs a lot, and I know he sort of gets in a lot of duels. How successful is he in duels up against Udogie? Like when we talked about Udogie doing an overlap, I can just see Udogie standing up, if this will be Brendan Aaronson here, in this position, and just skinning him down the right-hand side and using his strength and potentially even rolling. Brendan Aaronson. Whereas I think with Harrison, naturally on defensive unit, he's a bit more bulky, he's a bit more stronger, and I think he can win that duel a bit better against Udogie in the first place. But secondly, as I said, I am sick of picking attackers on how good they are defensively. Like you see Jack Harrison come on, it looks lively, it looks bright. You look at the shots that he had against Bournemouth as well. He offers something going forward. And anyone that wants Brendan Aaronson in the team, and this is not a knock on Brendan Aaronson as such, it's just the player he is. It's not a knock on his character, it's not a knock on his person. I think he's probably the hardest working player of the team. It wouldn't surprise me, even training, he's the best trainer in the team. But let's look at his sort of what he offers Leeds United going forward. And what he can do. He's not quick. He's not strong. He can't beat his man down the line. He lacks creativity, even when Brendan Aaronson naturally likes to come inside into this position, let's grab him again. When he likes to come in this position, let's get rid of Harrison. I don't think he picks the right options, so he's not like a creative force that's going to sort of come up with loads of worldy assists when Dominic Calvert-Lewin makes a nice run. I don't think he's the man to feed him either. So I'm not sure what he brings you. And the other thing that's a bit of a bugbear of mine at the moment in time with Brendan Aaronson as well is, and I do think he will start the record, but my main bugbear with him as well is he's an awful shooter of the ball. His ball striking is woeful. I don't want to be too harsh, but it's woeful. It's either just a tap over the bar, or it's the weakest shot I've ever seen in my life. He's just not a clean ball striker. I've never seen him kick the ball hard. And I look at what Jack Harrison brings, and I look at the cameos that he's offered. He's a better option on that right-hand side. I think he's a better crosser of the ball as well. I don't think in terms of, if someone can tell me, maybe a dribbler, maybe he's a better dribbler than Jack Harrison. And this is not saying that Jack Harrison's fantastic, because I would have played Dan James if he was fit. I would have played Gnonto on the right-hand side if he was fit. But, as I said, Jack Harrison for me is the best we've got on the right-hand side, if not. I do think Aaronson is better on the right-hand side than in the middle. I just think in terms of a profile and what they can offer and attributes you're going to need in the Premier League, I just don't see how Brendan Aaronson works, in my opinion. I just think in terms of offering something going forward, we're basically left-hand side only, because unless Bogle produces something on the right-hand side, we don't really have anything, do we? We don't really have anything. So that is my main change that I would make to this Leeds United team. I would pick Jack Harrison on the right hand side. That is my main key focus. But let's have a look at sort of where Leeds United can get at this Spurs team. Because obviously we talked about on the defensive side that Okafor doesn't have to do his job. But I also think going forward, I think this is going to be a massive game for Noah Okafor. Porro's never been the best of the defenders. So I think if you can get Okafor in this space between Porro and Romero, or even just getting him one-on-one against Porro in this position, you've got to see more from an output style and getting balls in to Calvert-Lewin as well. But I think down this left-hand side especially is where we can get at Spurs. I think this left-hand side will be a huge strength for Leeds United in this game. I also think this midfield, the likes of Bentancur, I do think he can get bullied in there. I know he's got height presence, but I do think if we can get Longstaff in and around him, winning tackles here, we can get them. I also don't think Polinia's, of all his great traits off the ball, I don't think on the ball he's brilliant. So again, if you can get Longstaff winning duels here and get the ball into DCL quick, I think we could have a really nice opportunity well. But we've got to make sure when we're doing this that we're not giving up cheap goals. Like you look at some of Leeds United's big bugbears of mine at this moment in time. We've only conceded 9 goals, but 6 of them have been set pieces. 6 of them. And we've also another bugbear of mine is that 3 of them have come in the 90-plus minute, actually 90-plus third minute onwards. So a third of our goals have come from 90-plus 3 onwards in games. That cannot continue to happen because you can't keep giving up points. And that is one thing I will say about this game. If Leeds United are in the 85th minute, we've got to find a way of seeing out a game better than we've seen sort of in the last few weeks, because this sort of style of going so deep, I just don't think it's working for us at this moment in time. And I think you've seen us give up goals. I know Farke said today that he was really assured and really strong in games, but we didn't give up a lot of chances against Bournemouth, which I do agree with, but you've got to be better at that, in my opinion. So yeah, that is how I think Leeds United should set up, and that's what I think should be different. Let's move on. I'll tell you what we should do. Let's move on to the score prediction, eh? So it's that time in the preview then. The prediction of what is actually going to happen in this game. The bit you've all been waiting for. I think this one's going to be a tricky one for Leeds United. I know we've talked about the lack of individual quality that I think Spurs have, but I think they're a really good team. And I know they've played in midweek, and I know they might be tired, but I look at Thomas Frank, and I think he's a real coup for Spurs. I think they're so adaptable. I think the way he can change a game, as I said, he's the most adaptable coach in the whole division for me. So if Leeds United are going to have to get anything out of this game, I think Daniel Farke will have to have a barnstormer of a tactical performance to keep up with Thomas Frank doing all his in-game tweaks. So for the first time on this channel, unfortunately, I'm not going to predict a Leeds United win. But I'm not going to predict a loss either. No, I'm going to go with a draw. Yeah, I'm going to go with a draw in this one. I think the game will finish 1-1. I think if you want the way it's going to go, I think Leeds United are going to get the lead potentially in the first half. And then in the second half, I think it's going to go on and on and on. I think around the 70th to 70th minute, they're going to equalise, unfortunately. And then luckily, Leeds United are going to hang on for a point, which I think would be a very valuable point. I think Spurs are a good team. And as I said, I've got massive admiration for Thomas Frank. I think he's a fantastic coach. Someone that I would have loved at Leeds United at some point. I know he's not the favourite character at Leeds United, but I do think he's a brilliant manager. So yeah, that's what I'm going to go with in today's video. But of course, if you have got to this point and you haven't subscribed, if you could do that, that would be absolutely fantastic. Of course, I'm only a small channel. I've only been doing this a few months. So if you could help me and drop a subscription, every subscription means the world to me. So if you could do that, it'd be brilliant. Also, if you drop a like as well, it pushes this up in the algorithm as well when I'm competing against other previews. So if you could do that, that would be fantastic as well. But I will see you tomorrow for, obviously, the Friday 8 p.m. stream. Obviously, all videos at 8 p.m, but it will be a live one again tomorrow, which is fantastic. And the 8 p.m. stream is always my favourite because we get into all sorts of different topics. So please get involved with that tomorrow. But other than that, I will see you later, everybody.